So I have Emma Timmis here, just for a little chat. For people who don't know Emma, she'll obviously introduce herself, but she ran New Zealand last year, which was a pretty big feat. And I know you've done something else in Africa or something like that, which I'll ask about later. But yeah, did you want to introduce yourself and what you do as a role and whatnot? Yeah.
Yeah, so I am an artist, athlete, and author. So my full-time job is working as an artist. I am a long distance runner, so ultramarathon runner, and I have also written and illustrated a children's book.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
What was the children's book called? I'm actually interested about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunately it's sold out, so I can't try and promote it and sell one to you at the moment, but maybe at some point when I get some more. So it's called The Girl Who Ran Across Africa, and it's about my run across Africa, and it's an inspirational story just to kind of get kids to think bigger and believe in themselves and dream big.
Sweet. Why
Yeah.
you mentioned that, I might as well ask about it now. So the run across Africa, I'm not actually too familiar with this, so I'm learning as I go, and I find it quite inspiring.
Yeah.
So what was that, and when did that happen, and what made you want to do that? Because some people find like, and there's no disrespect, like 5K is hard, so why would you run across Africa?
Yeah, so I've always been a runner. I've been running since I was 12 years old, since I was at school, and had quite a lot of anxiety around racing. So as I got into my late teens, early 20s, I actually stopped racing because it just affected my mental health, and I struggled with that. So I still enjoyed running, and I wanted to run forever because that's what I love. And in 2010, I came up with the idea to run across South Africa. So this was a fundraising event. I was working for the RSPCA, which is the same as the SPCA here, looking after animals and stopping animal cruelty. And I wanted to do something that involved my running, but also raised money for the charity that I was working for. And I like to dream big. So I decided to run across South Africa to raise money for the RSPCA, which was amazing. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And it was just a big adventure. I love to travel, and I love to run, and I love to be outdoors. So combined all of those things that I love. And that was in 2011.
Yeah.
And then some years later, a friend of mine found out that I'd done that, hadn't realized. And she said, would you be interested in doing something bigger, running across the whole continent of Africa to raise money for a charity in Zimbabwe that she was involved with? So we planned this run across the continent of Africa, had to go through Zimbabwe because that's where the charity was. And so, yeah, ran across the continent of Africa from Namibia to Mozambique, which took about 3 months.
I'm just trying to like comprehend that. So you did a run in 2011 for the RSPCA. How many kilometers is that? Just for people watching or what?
Yeah, so that one was about 2,400 kilometers, and that was the South Africa one. And then the Africa one was just shy of 4,000 kilometers.
Jesus. You're nuts. How did you break that up? Like in the terms of, obviously you would have broken up day by day and the training going in. What was that kind of what was the breakup of each day kind of like for you?
Yeah, so the breakup of each day was mostly based around when I would need to eat, and trying to avoid the middle of the day because it gets really hot. So generally waking up pretty early, running maybe 15, 20 Ks, stopping to have breakfast, then another 15, 20 Ks, and then stop to have lunch and just get out of the sun for most of the day. And then in the evening, doing another 15 to 20 Ks. And that would be my day, and then repeat every single day.
So you did like 80 Ks a day for 3 months?
No, it was about 50 Ks a day.
Okay, sweet. Oh, just 50. Yeah. Sweet,
Yeah.
That's unreal. I didn't know that. So you did the first one in 2011, and then the second one was in when, sorry?
2014.
2014. Okay, so in between, obviously, what was the training like going into something like that? Because I mean, people can probably relate right now, the Ned Brockman thing that just happened. It's
yeah,
right? Different, but
yeah.
So like, what was the training load going in, and what was your like motivators to stay motivated to train? I guess because I don't know personally if you do like normal events, like little events to build up, or do you just look for a big goal and then plan for that over a couple of years sort of thing?
So at the time when I was training for those runs, like I said, I struggled with anxiety in terms of racing. So I didn't really do any races. For my first run, my South Africa run, I went out and ran, I think it's called the Sandstone Trail in the UK, which is 35 miles. So that was part of the training, but it wasn't a race. It was just an event for me, I guess, and the club that I was with. And other than that, it was mostly focusing on time on feet. I was very new to this whole let's do a big adventure running multiple days in a row. So I was really just focusing on the time on my feet. I've definitely changed the way that I train now for events, and it's definitely more specific and more calculated. But back then it was just, let's try and be on my feet as much as I can, try and simulate what I'll do in Africa. So going for a run before work and going for a run after work, and while I was at work being on my feet. So it was pretty simple training, I would say, back then.
Yeah. And obviously that would be all aligned with do you have a coach and stuff back then?
No, I didn't. I had a coach when I was a teenager, when I used to do track and field running. And then as a little bit older, when I did triathlon, which my swimming will never be good enough to do triathlon. So that was the end of that. So yeah, no, I didn't.
Around the UK?
No. It would just be, how many times can I get people worried because I look like I'm drowning?
Okay, so I mean, I'm just a bit in awe, to be honest. But yeah. So obviously all this training and all the running and stuff, it must it would carry out into your day-to-day life and whatnot, and it obviously makes you feel good about yourself. So how would you say running affects or maybe complements your mental health?
Oh, it's a huge part for me. So something that you may not know, probably don't know about me, is that a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I had a leg injury that was undiagnosable for a long time, years. And that meant that I couldn't run for a very long time. I was seeing so many different people to try and find the answer to this: physios, osteopaths, chiropractors. I had scans, I had x-rays, I had ultrasounds, I had MRI scans, I had so many tests done to find out what was wrong with my leg, and nobody could find the answer. And this was unbelievably frustrating for me, and wasn't able to run, wasn't really able to exercise. Sometimes people were saying, you can run, others were saying you can't run, then they were saying you should swim, then they were saying don't do anything, you should go to the gym, no, don't go to the gym, you should ride a bike, no, don't ride a bike. And the whole entire event was so frustrating, and I wasn't able to do the amount of exercise and the running that I was used to, and my mental health massively suffered. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I was given counselling and put on medication, and throughout the whole event it really showed me that I think most people probably need to have really good balance in their life. You know, I put so much value on running, and that being a huge part of me and the makeup of me. And throughout this whole process, I learned that actually you can't put so much value on one thing. Whatever that one thing might be, you can lose it at any moment. So actually having some balance and really understanding that you are a valuable person in the world and you are a good person, whether you are accomplishing something, whether you're achieving anything or not, it doesn't matter. You are a good person. And I had to learn all of this through that injury, and actually maybe it was a blessing in disguise, and I've come out of that a much stronger person and much more respectful of my mental health, and understanding that being outdoors and doing exercise is a huge player in having good mental health overall.
Yeah, I find that I've related to that in somewhat, and I see other people doing it as well, whether it be with running or anything that they do, and when they align their focus or purpose to one thing and that gets stripped, then you just end up, you don't have a value or meaning, right? You lose who you are, I guess. So that's quite a valuable thing to take away. Hugely important. So obviously you got through that injury and whatnot. What was it in the end? Did they not actually know?
It was the most bizarre thing you will have ever heard of. So a vein and an artery had somehow connected within my calf. So the blood wasn't circulating properly around my leg. And it was a relatively simple operation just to detach
Yeah,
the vein and the artery. But really bizarre. So yeah, that's why it took so long to diagnose.
yeah. I mean, at least they got it in the end, and you obviously
Yeah.
live to see another day and run New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah. And learned so much about myself along the way. So kind of grateful for it, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure that would have been like mentally torturing.
Yeah.
Would you say that's one of the biggest like barriers you've had to overcome in recent years?
Oh, I would say that's probably the biggest thing I've had to overcome in my life, really.
Yeah. And the way you got through that was just pushing through, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. And really developing strong relationships with the people that were there for me. Because when you have something like that happen, you actually really very quickly learn who is genuinely there for you and who's just part of your events and activities that you do in your life. So developing strong relationships with the people that were there for me was really important. Exploring other activities that can bring me the same amount of joy. So actually, through that injury, that's how I began my career as an artist, because that was something that I could do that was sitting without standing and being active all the time. So that was amazing for me, and it's changed the trajectory of my life as well. And that was the seed that was planted to do my kids book as well. So lots of good stuff came from it.
Yeah. I want to talk more about that kids book. So the kids book, what was the purpose behind that? Obviously to get kids, it was to get them to run or whatnot, but did you think of that while you were during the event, or when did that come to life?
So that literally came from the injury. So I got this injury. I wasn't able to work. I used to be a rock climbing instructor, which was standing and being active all day. So I wasn't able to do that anymore. Was really struggling to figure out what I could do work-wise to earn some money that wasn't on my legs, because all of my jobs have been active. I've never worked in an office. I wouldn't know how to make a spreadsheet or anything. So thought, you know, I've always had these two passions, running and art. So maybe it's time to just try the art thing and make a career out of it. And it was that point that I decided that I didn't really want to let go of everything related to running, because, you know, you go through this process where, you know, you're not able to run anymore and you're feeling terrible about yourself and about life, and you kind of just push away running and think, I don't really want anything to do with it. It's too upsetting for me. I'm going to separate myself from it. And then after that whole process, I guess it was almost a grieving process, then I realized that I still want to be involved in the running community. I love running. It's been a part of my life for so long. And what a better adventure to be the platform of a book for kids. You know, kids love animals, they love bright colors, everything that Africa is all about. And finding a way to turn one of my experiences, a very special experience to me, into something that will motivate other kids. Did some research, found out that actually not many children's books are true stories. Not many children's books have a female as the lead character, and all these different things that kind of just pointed to the fact that this book should be made. So I'm not the best writer in the world, but I started writing it, mostly thinking about what pictures would look great on what pages, and started drawing the pictures for it. And this was all within that time that I was injured. The book took years to create overall, but I think it took about 3 years from the concept to actually getting it published. So yeah.
So you like almost like went from having everything in running to like not wanting to do running, and then almost like flipping your lens and like putting running into like someone else's shoes, I guess, or hands in terms of a book, which is pretty cool.
And just passing on passing on part of what I've done to kids as well. And actually so many kids love the book, and I have parents message me all the time saying, my children love your book, it's their favorite book that they've got, they always get it off the shelf, and they pretend to run around saying, I'm Emma.
That's so cool. I'm glad people like put a positive outlet on running, because like working in a school, how like running's used as like almost a like what's it called, negative kind of thing. Go run 5 laps. I hate when people do that. They're making it like a cool thing. I like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Probably if I was at school I would have been like, please make me run more.
I have those kids. They're like, I want to go run laps. It's like, yes, you do that. Okay, so I'll talk about the more you will, because I wasn't there. The more recent event, which was literally, it was last year, in December. Did you start?
Yes, I finished on the 7th of January.
Yeah. So the purpose behind that event and like where that vision, I guess, came from, because you sound like you're from the UK, so obviously there isn't home. well, it is probably home now. But
Yep.
yes, where did all that like drive and passion come from for running New Zealand?
Yeah, so again, it all seems to come back to this injury. Sorry to keep mentioning that, but
No,
so
it's
my
how you can turn
plan,
like, such a negative into a positive and like
yeah,
push through that. I like that. It's cool.
yeah. So my plan to run the length of New Zealand came years ago, 2017 or 2016, just before this leg injury. So I was planning it then.
Yeah.
I put all the paperwork forward for the Guinness World Record, and I had plans to do it, and I had my heart set on being able to do it in 21 days. I guess really the drive behind choosing to do that and wanting to do that back then at the time was that I've done lots of different adventures, the running across Africa, cycled across Australia, I did a big walk in Australia. I've done lots of different adventurous things, but none of those things were so scary and so pushing the limits that I thought there was a high chance of failure.
Yeah.
All of the things that I'd ever set out to do, I always knew that I could do it. There wasn't really ever a time frame, so it wasn't like, you know, I want to run across Africa and I really want to do it in this certain time, and if I don't, then, you know, it won't be what I want to be. There was never a time scale to anything that I'd ever done, that I hadn't been petrified of the goal that I'd set myself. I'd never had any of that. So in terms of running the length of New Zealand, I felt ready for a big running challenge, and I wanted to do something that really pushed myself to the point of thinking, is this even physically possible? So this was back in 2016, 2017. Decided that I wanted to run New Zealand. It's about 2,100 kilometers, and I wanted to see if it's possible for me to do it in 21 days. So 100 kilometers a day, which I'd never done anything even remotely like before. And really, when I reflect on it now, I think if I hadn't have had that injury, I don't think I would have had the mental resilience or the toughness to have actually got through it, because it's really bonkers tough. You know, 100 Ks a day is just ridiculous. It's so stressful on your body and your mind, and especially on these roads in New Zealand with all the traffic. You know, you're dealing with constant noise and constant fear of being hit by a car. So actually, you know, I put it all together that it was going to happen in 2017. That didn't happen because of my injury, and I only really became injury free in about 2020.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was feeling ready to go again, it was like absolutely the next thing that I wanted to do, because it'd been my dream for so long. I'd been dreaming about it all those years that I wasn't able to run. It was still in my mind. So yeah, as soon as I was able, that was it.
Once again, I'm like, holy shit. So 20, you did 100K. Did it have to be 100 Ks in order to get the Guinness, was it?
No, not at all. That was just what I believed that I was capable of, and what I wanted to push myself to see if I could do. So the previous record was 35 days. So there was a lot of leeway for anything to happen as well. So
it was more like, it was more challenging your mind rather than the book, because the Guinness book, obviously. You had quite a bit of leeway. What were times like on the road, like mentally? Obviously excruciating pain, legs would have been smashed, fingernails falling up, not fingernails, toenails falling out. Was it raining?
Yeah. There was only, I had 2 days of torrential rain. The first week was insanely hot. It was 40 degrees every day. And obviously there is no shelter at all when you're running on the roads. You're just in the sun. So dealing with 40 degrees for the first 8 or 9 days, then had torrential rain for 2 days. And then into the South Island, it was cooler than the North, but still warm. But a little bit more bearable, but a lot more traffic.
I'm just like, holy shit. Okay, so in your, obviously on the road, it would have got pretty lonely at times, because I mean, you'd have a crew. Did you have a good crew and stuff? How many did you take with you in camper van, or what was the go with that?
Yeah, so I had either 2 or 3 people at all times with me. We had a camper van that I slept in the camper van every single night for continuity, because I'm not very good at sleeping at the best of times. So I just wanted me to always be in the same place, the same bed, same sheets, same pillow, all of that. And my team always, we paid for my team to stay in accommodation, but they were always with me. So yeah, in terms of being lonely, I'm an introvert. I spend a lot of time by myself, and I'm very, very happy by myself. I spend a lot of time running by myself and drawing and painting by myself. So being alone on the road was actually completely fine by me. It was almost kind of the opposite way around, that people wanted to join me. And I just did not have the energy to like smile and be polite and chat. And I am a very polite person, so if someone's there with me, I feel like I need to talk to them and inquire about their lives and see what they're up to. So often my support team would be like, this person's coming to run with you in the afternoon, and I'll be like, no, don't make this person run with me, they're gonna think I'm horrible and I'm like just miserable. But then as soon as they'd run with me, actually like their energy would spill into me and perk me up. So it was actually really nice that people joined me all the time. Like, it's so weird, people, because I had a tracker with me, so you could literally follow where I was, and people would just come out the bushes and just appear and run with me. Honestly, like, this person just came out the bushes one day, ran 40 kilometers with me, and then just disappeared into the bushes again. Like, bizarre, don't know where you came from, but that's okay. And yeah, just random people, and like kids at the side of their, like, they'd come to the edge of their driveway when I'm running past and they have signs. And it was always when I felt really miserable and thought I just can't do this anymore, I'm just gonna have to give up, a child would appear with a sign, go Emma, go Emma. And I'm, oh, okay, well, I can't give up. So yeah, I wasn't lonely at all.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I thought it would have been the opposite, so that's cool how like the energy fed into you, because I'm like, some days you only get like so much energy in a day, and when people are taking it from you, it's like, go away. But yeah, I guess you could turn that, so that's cool. So I'm just still trying to process it in an aura, but I like idolize people who do crazy shit like this, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you.
So like, using all this, so what does like mental health mean to you, or positive mental health mean to you?
Positive mental health to me is exactly the same as having positive physical health. So I don't think that one is any better than the other, any more important than the other. I think it's something that we really should focus on, especially nowadays with, you know, like, times are unpredictable and we don't always know what's happening in the future. So for me, if I have a problem with my body, if I have a physical health problem, I would always seek some advice and some help from somebody that knows what they're talking about. And it would be the same, exactly the same for my mental health. If I felt like I was really struggling, I would always get some care for my mental health. But also, a lot of care can be done just by yourself at home. So going outside, getting fresh air, talking to your friends is actually really, really important. I grew up in a world where I didn't necessarily talk to people about how I was feeling. Like, I didn't see that with my family. So for me to learn to do that was a huge thing and really scary. But oh my gosh, you feel amazing when you actually talk to people about your problems. So that's a huge thing as well for me, is just like speaking and sharing how you feel, because chances are you're not the only one and other people have felt it too.
I find opening up to someone, and I mean, it's easy to say because you've got to have the space to open up into, but it does help for sure. Especially, I don't know what it's like in the UK growing up, but over here it's quite hard, especially being a male, and the like masculine toxicity kind of that goes. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but it was kind of like that here, I guess.
I think it's similar.
What's 3 things, last question, I promise,
that's all good,
that you'd say running's given you to like leave a positive thing on your life, kind of thing? So 3 things that running's given you that's positive, and then you can sign out.
Oh, thank you. 3 positive things that running has given to me are an amazing community. So meeting like-minded people like yourself and having great friends to go run with, exploring new places on foot. So, you know, any town that I go to ever, I've been running since I was 12 and I've traveled a lot of the world, but any town that I go to, I would always go for a run, whether it's an actual town or a countryside place. And a third one, what else has running given to me? Clears my mind. I think running is a really good thing to do to clear your mind. If you've got something that is on your mind and you're struggling with, going for a run, often like the ideas flow and you can process some of that emotion as well. So yeah, they're my three things.
Okay, thank you for them. No, thanks for your time, and just everything you do is bloody crazy, but it's so cool. And I'm sure people find inspiration from this, because if they don't, I don't know what's going to inspire them really. But yeah, no, thanks for your time, Emma.
Oh, and thank you. It's been lovely chatting.